What's up, fellas?
What's up, brother?
You look great. Frankie, still look at you like $1 million. You look like you just stepped out of Vegas with Ace.
I wish.
Could you imagine telling a boomer that you wanted to be a cat and you wanted to lay around the house all day?
You would have got beaten down like no
My
tomorrow.
mother hung me out a window.
Yeah.
I told her I wanted to play shortstop at 5 years old and he put a boot in my ass.
That means Gen X is their parents.
We fucked up.
We're the fuck ups.
Because we didn't want to do to them what was done to us.
So this was the biggest criticism that Sammy took on one of our interviews, where he said, we asked him the question about regret, and he said that he doesn't regret anything. So we asked him again on our second interview, and he clarified, and I think this is what you mean. Correct me if I'm wrong. You don't regret where it's brought you to today, but if you had to go back and rewrite it, and maybe you'd end up in let's say a better spot, you'd regret selling drugs. You'd regret what maybe those drugs had an impact on certain people's lives or anything like that. You be honest. If you say no, you say no.
I was more of a pot dealer than anything else. That didn't have any impact on anybody. The people that would have been throwing stones back then all smoke pot today.
Well,
they're all walking around with that pen and their vapes and
now it's almost legal everywhere here,
but
right?
People that you would never think would be smoking pot smoke pot today because it's allowed.
Yeah.
Now we didn't come during the Great Depression and during Prohibition, but I'm sure it was the same thing. The people that were against alcohol. Remember that part? I'm not too good with gangster movies because I think they're all terrible. But Untouchables, and they ask Elliot Ness at the end, I don't know if it's true or not, Kevin Costner's character, what are you going to do now? He says, I'm going to go have a drink.
Yes.
Because they legalized it. So it's like, just like prosecutors, they're giving guys 300 years. I think all prosecutors should stay in the prosecutor's office until the last person gets out of jail that they put in jail. Because what they do is they build a resume and then they go work for the defense. They make it personal. It's never business. They give more time out than they should. And they say he's no good, he's organized crime, he's a piece of shit, he's this, he's that. And 6 months after they land a big indictment and the case is over, they're working for the defense. None of them go into corporate law or working to help people in the legal aid office. They go right to the defense attorney for $700 an hour. So to me, what is it all about?
Like what's
they
a scam?
They fight, and then once it's legalized, then they roll with the punches.
Then they roll and they make money off the taxes and everything, right? If you don't stand for something,
you'll fall for anything.
Yeah.
So, no, you know what? My mentality is because of what I went through. Now, where I am in life, no, I'd like to be filthy rich, living on an island somewhere. But for what I've learned and how I think, I wouldn't want it any other way. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't go back and change a thing.
Frankie, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I understand where he's coming from. When you ask me if I have any regrets or if I would change anything, I probably wouldn't alter anything because going through what I went through from beginning till now made me who I am. And if I would have altered anything, I wouldn't have my daughter. It wouldn't, it never would have happened. So again, I have no regrets for that. Do I miss certain times in the camaraderie and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah.
I missed that. But as far as regrets, I mean, did I know it was wrong doing things I was doing when I was doing them? Yes. But when you're involved, if you don't continue doing the things that you're told to do, you become a victim and disappear. So even though things are wrong, you can't go out and don't go shoot this person. Don't do, because it's wrong. But after you get yourself involved too much and too deep, there's no turning back.
So is it like a killer be killed, you're saying? Like you had to become that person?
Pretty much. In my situation, like we were around a lunatic, Greg Scarpa Sr. And I mean, Hootie knows this guy was a madman. But he had a green light from the government that we didn't know about. So we're thinking what he's doing out in the open, that's the way to be. So technically, he was training a bunch of lunatics because they think this is the way to do it. It's what he's doing. Meanwhile, he had the edge of working for the government and not getting in trouble. Now, watching this man in action, you know, if you don't do something he says, you're going to be another one rolled up in a rug.
Sure.
Or found somewhere or not found. So, you know, that's one of the regrets. I wish I didn't get involved in certain things back then, but I did. But it makes me who I am today as far as knowledge in my head and being able to pass the knowledge or anything, the street smarts, off to my daughter. Yeah. That's why I make her do everything.
Yeah.
You know?
I wanted to ask you something about Greg Scarpa Sr. We talked a lot about him on our previous interview, but this may be like an inappropriate question, so don't take any offense to it. Maybe I shouldn't ask, but yes. I wanted to know. I said, if you guys anyone had known what his relationship was like with the FBI, like, would there be a green light on him?
Of course.
100%, right?
And now when you look back with the documents and all the cases, I know for a fact, because something was said to somebody, a mutual friend, by the boss, they knew. But they thought, since he's doing the work that no one wants to do, there's no way he's going to get us in trouble because he wants to keep earning. But they knew somewhere along the line, they knew from the 60s, they knew in the 70s, you know, and then those guys died off, went to jail, and the next bunch of guys come who didn't know, but maybe had something in the back of their head. But now when I look back of all the things that were going on that this maniac was doing, even the toughest guy with the biggest balls wouldn't do half the things he was doing. But he had the green light because he knew he never was getting locked up.
Yeah, he had nothing to fear.
No.
Besides the streets.
No. And when the war was going on, and I'm saying to myself, this guy's so active. He's just running around shooting everybody. We know he was sick. We didn't know what was sick. We thought he had cancer. All right. But he had AIDS. We didn't know. And we thought, okay, this guy wants to go out in a blaze. He wants to get shot in the street. The way he's acting, the way he's killing people, and we were hunting every day during that whole war. There was so many shootouts, so many murders, so many attempted murders. And he was in the thick of everything.
Right.
I was convinced that he wanted to go get killed in the street and go out like that, then whatever was going to kill him, which I thought was cancer. You know? So, again, it came out during the war. We were getting ready to go hunt somebody. We were eating donuts. Everybody was getting their breakfast before we go out and hunt people down. And the newspaper came out that he was an informant. And he went crazy. So everything changed that day. We weren't going to kill our enemy. We were going to kill the reporter or his mother. We couldn't find him, but Jerry Capici was going because he wrote the article, and the plans got changed that day. So now you say to yourself, you know, you're in a car with this guy. He's got guns on him. He's getting out shooting people in front of everybody in broad daylight. How can this guy be an informant?
Right.
How? If he is, we're all going to jail forever. And that's what happened. But because he was an informant, we ended up getting out. Because all that stuff came out after we were convicted. Or else if it didn't come out, I'd be rotting away in Lewisburg still. You know?
So
every time he came up that he was bad, something was bad with him, they would give him a piece of work that nobody wanted to do. He'd commit the murder, or it came out that he was bad. Like there was one time in the club, somebody called him a rat in the club. He pulled out a gun out of a briefcase and shot him right in the club in the head, and he got rolled up in a rug.
That's crazy.
Larry Mazza was there for that.
So even with that, like,
so how do you think he's bad?
Exactly.
You don't know.
But Larry, when he was telling us a story with the not the fiance, but the partner, the girlfriend, or was it the wife?
He had two. He really had three wives.
That's why
something like that.
Yeah, I remember that part.
Yeah.
But Larry was telling us about Greg's wife, and then hooking up with her.
Yeah.
And like then Greg was okay with it. Like, did you guys know that story back then?
Listen,
no?
I didn't hear about that until after I was convicted in prison, and one of my co-defendants comes to me and says, "Did you hear what's going on? I says, no. I go, what are we cooking today? Who's got the garlic? You know, that's what we need garlic. And he goes, Larry was fucking around with Greg's wife. I was like, yeah, okay. And I just kept going. I was like, I'm heading to the kitchen because I want to buy garlic from one of the kitchen workers. And sure enough, it came out that it was true. I couldn't believe it. And he was okay with it. Here's what I think now. Because every week, Greg would load up the car with the money and headed up to Jersey and put it in a vault in the Jersey family that he had. Because he was married over there. I think Larry made it easier for him by hanging out with this woman so that he can have a little freedom. Because he was with another woman also. So I think he knew about it now, but which I hear from Larry, yeah, he did. But I think that's why he was like, let it slide.
Who are the kids from? Right, he's got the daughter that's always on. All right, his son will just
It's
came
from
home.
him.
No, which wife?
Linda.
The one Larry was playing around with.
Yeah.
Fucking insane.
Yeah.
You can't
Now, the crazy part about it is, and you know the rules,
Yeah.
he's supposed to get clipped for letting it happen.
Yeah. Both of them supposed to get killed.
You know what I mean? Yeah, right away, he's supposed to get clipped. He wasn't even straightened out at the time.
but no one knew. It was like a
He
secret.
gets clipped for that.
Secret.
I want to
For
ask
letting
you
his
about
wife
that. You
fuck
see how
around.
you just mentioned that rule? Someone on our YouTube channel made a good point, and during our when we had our interview together, and he's like, well, by one token, because you know how you were talking about snitching, and you said, like, even you being on talking about stories, you feel like it's a form of snitching.
Anybody
Yeah.
that's telling
Yeah, yeah.
stories,
Yes.
they're just
It's
as
a
bad as
form
the
of
guy that
snitching.
testified.
Yeah.
I don't care what
I
anybody
already know what
says.
you're going to bring up.
What are you gonna say?
I want me to tell you what you're going to say?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you because somebody sent me his first. I didn't watch the guy. I know you're talking about from Philly.
I didn't watch it either.
No, but somebody
that's what he's
sent
going to
me-
bring up.
Him in a restaurant talking about an armed car robbery that he did with somebody.
Yes.
You can't talk about those. I don't care if you're convicted. There's always a loophole that you could be recharged for the same crime in the government. I don't care what anybody tells me. I was
You're
charged
talking
in the
about Joey
state.
Molino, right?
Yeah.
So there's stories like that, but what I was gonna throw in as a
okay.
curveball,
Okay, curve it.
I just let you guys go because it's always interesting.
Oh, I just thought you were talking about him because I don't care if you're a boss.
No.
You can't go on YouTube. You can't go anywhere and talk about anything. And he's talking about, this guy's a scumbag. He told me, come, the bag. I put it in this. Now, the guy didn't get pinched that he hid the money in the house. You just told on the guy. You just told the guy. You just told on the guy that hid the money in his house, but he didn't commit the crime. You're an accessory after the fact. I don't care what anybody tells you. Now, I'm not going to talk about the guy because I don't know him and I don't know what he's doing. All I'm saying is anybody that gets on a microphone and talks, they're no good.
Well, they're not active no more. There's no way this guy's still a boss and he's on YouTube. There's no way. Even for Philly standards. And I'm not knocking the Philly mob. I know a lot of them. I was close with a lot of them. But again, it's a very small organization there. You know? And for a boss to be on YouTube talking about sports, people might say, oh, he's just talking about sports, it's not crime. For him talking about sports, him talking about the weather, he can't do that. You're either shelved or killed. Shelved is where you're not recognized no more. So there's no way in hell this guy is recognized as a boss by the other families right now.
And
there's no way.
If you owe him $300,000 in juice money, you don't have to pay him $1. So any money he's got on the street, nobody's got to give him $1 anymore. And you can tell me he's not a bookmaker? The guy's a degenerate gambler. From one video I watched, I know that. I don't know the guy from the hole in the wall. And he's a boss, so I know he's got to have. If he don't got $2-3 million on the street, he should have never been earning. That's another thing I'm going to talk about. You shouldn't be earning. So, but he's a boss. So you got extortion, you got bookmaking. You don't have to pay that guy no more. Tell him to go see who's going to go see. Who the fuck's he going to see?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Nobody's recognizing him no more.
Well, look, what happened with the situation was Vinny Ocean, the guy from Jersey. He got caught on tape saying, see, they made them Sopranos show about me. They talking about me. I was in the street then. He owned Wiggles on Queens Boulevard. And the crew that I was with used to take all the money out of all the strip clubs. So we were friendly. We used to go in there. When that tape recording came out, and it wasn't even like he was, he got caught on tape, bragging that he's Tony Soprano. They were told, don't go in there. Don't talk to the guy. He's no good. He's a garbage pail. This guy's the boss of Jersey. Just because he got caught on tape talking about that he's somebody on a TV show. But those are the rules then.
It's
I'm
a
talking
rule.
about in the 90s.
It's the rule.
So if you can't justify it. That's all I can say. There's no justification for anything.
It just goes to show you the state of where the mob is in today. It's not like the old generation. I say when we were kids, the old timers from the 50s, 60s, and 70s who are old teaching the ways. Okay? Now those people, 80s, 90s, 2000, they're starting to die off. So the way from 2000 now to 2023, that dinosaur gangster, there's maybe a few left.
Oh, they're relics. And nobody respects them. The younger generation that comes up
they don't respect them because they say they're old. But meanwhile, they knew the rules. And once you break the rules, what do you have? You have nothing. You don't have nothing structured anymore.
Yeah.
So I could like touch on what Frankie said before. See, Frankie came from a crew. You become a victim or you earn harder, right? So he came from a crew. If he wanted to get chased or go to work every day and leave, even though you're not straightened out yet, but he came from a crew. His crew, you get clipped. Sammy the Bull, he kept all shooters around him for that reason. He clipped anybody that wanted to be, that he had to chase. Roy DeMeo. I came from a crew where if I had a disagreement with the captain of my crew, he'd tell you to go get a job. You know, you get chased. You get chased right away. Listen, you're not earning. Yeah, I can't. I got a part here because that comes first. Regardless, you're a git. You're a gangster in training. You know, GIT. So regardless, weddings. I went to more weddings of people I didn't know than people I know. Every week, I think I was at the Bronx, Russo's on the Bay, every summer, spring, you know, communion parties, because they get tables. Wise guys get tables, and then they bring their crew. So you don't show up for a wedding. I got in trouble for not going to a funeral. Like the things that I get called in for were the dumbest shit. Not showing up, where you been, because nobody used phones in my crew. Nobody ever got caught on tape. So it was a message, it was a beep. It was crazy. And it was always like, you didn't show up at the funeral, you didn't wear a tie. Like, those are the rules. And they tell you, when you're getting scolded in his basement, go get a fucking job. I'll fucking chase you. Nobody will want nothing to do with you. So there was crews like that because they just didn't want to be bothered. And those old timers thought everybody was a rat. He's a rat. Right? Vinny Asaro was infamous. Anytime I had a conversation with him, if somebody passes in the race, that guy's a rat. That guy's a rat. Like the old timers, that's how they were. But then you had guys like his crew, you get clipped. You want to leave, you're going to work for UPS. Sammy the Bull's crew, Roy DeMeo's crew. There was guys like that. You get clipped.
They just didn't.
But then there was guys that just chased you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I came from a crew where the guy was always chasing guys. He had 4 million guys around him. That's why. He tell you go get a fucking job. You know?
See, like,
so, no, I'm just saying. But so like that's like, you know, and these were rules. You're talking about getting in trouble for not going to a wedding of a person you didn't even know. A funeral. Funeral was like the biggest disrespect. But in my crew, it trickled down because it was Gotti's regime. All the Nobili Dons. I'm Sicilian, my whole crew's Nobili Don. And then all the rules where you have to show up every Saturday. You have to, because his brother Pete, I think I said something, had the same rule for the Bergen when he became boss. He used to have to go there every Saturday. We used to go there and play Continental every Saturday afternoon. And everybody had to show up on Saturdays. You know, you had to go to funerals because what was John's biggest thing? He was mad that Paul didn't go to Neil's funeral. Right? So all of that stuff, I got to think. I was never told because I seen those rules and I didn't hang out with John Sr. before my time. But I seen all the rules that I've heard from other people in all the crews in my neighborhood. So you knew that's where it came from. Like Joe Messina lived on 84th Street, right? And nobody in his crew would go to weddings, funerals. That was his rule. Don't say my name. Yeah, that was the rule with the Bananos. You know? So, and we all hang out together. You know how every family's in how you can't avoid each other. And they're not showing up at funerals or weddings of people that we know because they don't have to. But you have to because then you put it together. That must be trickling. You know, we used to call it the Gotti regime, not the Gambino regime, because those were the things. And I see people get cracked, kicked down flights of stairs for shit like that. And it's, you know, not showing up to a wedding, not wearing a suit to court.
Yeah, but that's interesting because it sounds like it's very subjective, right? Like it's very different, right? It's not like a one kind of
it's like
set of
communism.
rules.
Whatever the boss decides
it's
at
a lot of
moment,
rules.
those are the rules for the day.
But there's certain rules that every family has.
Also, there
Like
was
your family, I didn't like. They
What?
clip guys for stealing. That was Persico's rule. That was the first time I ever heard that. I was locked up with a Colombo guy, and he's like, yeah. He goes, you didn't get a second chance, you know. But meaning like, if you had to turn in, like I guess Michael talks about it, but I don't know, that Michael was turning in whatever it was, 400,000 a week, and it was like 300,000 one week. And this is his earn. And they wanted to clip him over that for stealing. For stealing his own money.
No.
Yeah, that's what the whole thing was about. I think where Sonny gave the green light, he said, when they went for that basement. Because they thought he was stealing.
He was too hot. He was doing some stuff, whatever.
No,
he was kind
it was,
of on
it was
his own.
that.
It was stealing?
Yeah, they said he just, because he started turning in different numbers. It's his money. So they consider that stealing, and the Colombo family clips you for that. You get strikes against you in other families, you know? So it was like, and like, you know how you see in a movie where he says, wise guys don't pay for drinks? Why'd you pay for that drink, Donnie? Yeah. That's bullshit. In my crew, you couldn't go in a wise guy joint. They tell you to stay out of it, right? How many times you go into a wise guy joint and they find out the next day? How many times you get sent for the next morning on Sunday? Get in here. Where the fuck were you last night?
Sunday or Monday.
Go back there, pay the bill. Like, you got to pay. You never walk out on a bill, even if it's a civilian joint. You pay. You always pay your bill. You always go in your pocket first. And the highest ranking guy in the crew pays for everything. So like if I was with somebody that was a captain and I went to pay for something and I wasn't paying for like the whole thing, or if I didn't pick up his bill and he was eating with his family, that's different. But like the bar, like that guy was going for it. You know what I mean? So like when you see all that stuff, wise guy don't pay for a drink, that's all bullshit. Like we used to get summoned. You weren't allowed to go to, like we got in trouble for going to Wiggles when the guy was active. Like, stay out of that fucking joint. The boss owns it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. But then you have guys
get clipped. You get into a fight in there, they're looking to clip you. You know what I mean? Like, those were the things. And it's like, always pay your bill, tip extra. You don't walk out. You pay for your drinks. You pay for everything, and you stay out of wise guy. I mean, those are the rules. We never stood at them because every joint back then was owned by a wise guy.
Yeah. But you have other people who it goes to their head. They're about something now. They think, you know, this made them special. And they could push their weight around on people. That's not the way to do it.
Yeah, well, those are the guys that never put work in. They get straightened out by the finger.
Exactly. They never did nothing. They got put there. And you have a lot of those type of guys, you know. But
that's why I hear about guys that didn't grow up in social clubs. Then those guys are not breaded for the life, because that's where you get. That's like your farm system.
That's kindergarten. That's right. That's the kindergarten.
You know, like I watched tough. Like I used to think certain guys were like the toughest guys around because they could beat everybody up, and then I watched them get abused in club by a guy half their size because the guy straightened out. So and that's what you pay. And the best thing is you don't ask. You just pay attention to everything that's going on. You learn how to play every game: Italian, poker, everything, Scala, Continental. So you just pay attention, and that's where you learn everything. And you learn who you talk to, who you don't talk to, who you're allowed to say hello to, whose hand you shake first. You know, if you went inside and there's a wise guy in there, not a captain, and nobody else is straightened out, and there's food laid out, nobody gets up and eat until the wise guy eats first. A lot of people don't know that. When you walk in a place, I actually have this thing, and like you see a lot of people in John's videos hanging out in the front of the club that swear they knew John. None of them, half those guys never even shook his hand. Because they'd be in the back. They weren't allowed to go shake his hand. They just had to be there. It was somebody's driver. They got invited. You know what I mean? I see people, I hung out at, downtown on Mulberry. No, you didn't. You went there with somebody and you hung out in the front. But if you were guys that knew him, you don't shake anybody's hand. There's going to be 100 guys. You walk straight to the back and you shake his hand and give him a kiss first, and then you say hello to everybody else in order. So like, but you don't know them things if you're hanging out at a car wash, if you're hanging out at the, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a capo regime and I was at a carpet store. You don't know. You got straightened out by the finger, or you earned money, nepotism, born on third base, things like that.
Relative.
Right. So you don't know that. But then you scrappy kids like me, I was in and out of social clubs my whole life, and that's where I got my lessons. Who you respect, like, all the old timers were 4'11", 4'12". And these guys commanded respect and power like no other. You wouldn't have thought that. Because you don't know until you get in there. Because to me, when I was a kid, I thought everybody was a wise guy. You don't know when you're 5, 6 years old, coming in and out for fireworks, you know what I mean? You can sense who the bosses are, like Ronnie and Vinny were the bosses in my neighborhood back then. And and Ronnie wasn't even straightened out yet. He didn't get straightened out till 89. And I'm going back to like 85, 86. I just thought he was the boss. And I knew he was a Gambino and Vinny was a Banano, and they were on the same avenue. Things like that. But then you get inside the club And oh, that guy's a gopher. Guy thought he was a tough guy. He's keeping score now. You know what I mean? Oh, that guy sleeps in the club. Because every club used to have a guy that slept in there so you couldn't put a bug in it. There was always like a gatekeeper.
Yeah, it's like an old timer.
Yeah, always
cook,
an old timer.
He cook,
right?
Clean it, keep it there.
Yeah, take deliveries, whatever. But I'm just saying, like, so when I hear a lot of these people talk, I know that half of them were breaded wrong. They don't even know how it works, But
the problem is because of social media, and we have some stuff we were gonna ask you guys and read some comments and things like that. The problem is that nobody knows what to believe anymore. And Hollywood as well has screwed this up. Because someone, like, I started watching Get Gotti, a little bit of Get Gotti on Netflix. And like, you'll look at when they plant the bug and then the mob guys are outside of they're trying to knock on the door. They think they see a light and then they walk away. It probably didn't go down like that, like the way they portray it. And the cops were so close to getting caught, they stayed quiet inside. And then all of a sudden the bug was planted and they quickly got away.
They had to make it suspenseful for TV.
Yeah, and it's like, it probably didn't go down exactly the way they're telling it, they're describing it. So it's better to hear from firsthand guys that were there in the life.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. The quality of guy changed, as I told you, since the old time gangsters died, teaching people the right way, to the new generation and next generation. One next 10 years, those guys are going to die. The ones that are going to be around weren't taught the right way, with the rules the way they're supposed to be. Now, with that, technology changes. I know firsthand, it's so unfair of what the government has for people like we used to be. It's like, if you want to describe it, just imagine you have two gangs ready to fight in this day and age, okay? And we have our arsenal of, weapons that we could get. Guns, AKs, little submachine guns, pistols, stuff like that. I mean, rocket launcher, if you can, And that's what we have.
Hand grenades.
And now we're going to fight this gang. They just press a button, a force field goes up, and you get zapped by something from the sky. That's how it is with the technology with the government today. What they have, we are no match. And the guys out there on the street don't realize it. That it's so unfair that if somebody is doing things today, you're lucky. It's not going to last because just the technology alone. So between the guy changing and the technology, you'll see more and more people coming to YouTube in the next 20 years.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean,
and look, you have an active boss, supposedly, from Philly on YouTube. It never would have happened.
You think that guy, something's going to happen to him?
No.
Really?
No, he's just
going
to be.
Anything happens to anybody in Florida.
No, besides that, they're just going to shelf him. He'll continue doing this. And if he's doing this, he's got to be trying to think he's going to earn money. There's some rainbow on YouTube of a pot of gold somewhere.
Yeah, but what if he's giving more info on, things that people haven't ever talked about before? That
supposedly it started out as gambling. Now it's veering off into stories. So no matter
that's
what
I got today. I never watched anything, but I got the one I'm talking about on the truck. I mean,
there's nobody recognizing this guy.
Nobody in New York recognized him anyway when I was on the streets. From Philly, so I don't know what goes on in Philly.
It's very small. It's very small.
They have brothers clipping each other. How do you want to clip your own brother?
I know a lot of Philly guys. I don't want to talk bad about them, but it's like, just say if you take like a motorcycle gang and hit them with some mob steroids, that's them.
But did you see the characters back in the 80s
yes,
and 90s that he
that's
had
what I'm
when
saying.
He was giving turkeys out? I'm like, that's his crew? It's just weird. It's just weird.
Again, I'm not knocking the Philly guys. I'm not knocking the Joey Molino either.
I'm knocking everybody.
I'm really not. But it's not because I don't give.
I'm just saying. I'm calling like it is. I get time with a ton of guys.
It just stirs up shit.
If you wasn't around in the 90s doing things, I don't give a fuck about you.
So
I was playing with Pokemon in the 90s.
It's just it's just a weird time. It's a weird time right now.
To touch on that, what Frankie said, I think now, because going back to the 90s, guys that were in their 70s, 60s, John Sr.'s era was telling us to get out of the life. Yeah. They were telling us, they would say, you just don't have a shot. And we didn't comprehend it. We knew the government had technology, but we didn't talk on phones, my crew. We didn't do anything. We didn't use GPSs. We bought cars without that shit. Like we were up on that because we were earning, so we were able to. But watching that 1985, they had a camera 2 blocks away on Mulberry Street that it looked like you were standing next to the guy. So if they had that technology in 85, and but we didn't know that, and the old timers were telling us they knew about this. You guys are not going to survive in the streets, and not because you aren't tough, because the government's going to put you under the jail. That's what they were telling us, and we were like, it's not going to be that. But we all knew we were going to jail. We just didn't think for 300 years apiece, and we didn't think that you could indict people off of grand jury testimony and learned, which is the RICO now. You need evidence, wiretaps. We had 400 hours of tapes. There were 6 guys in my crew. Not one of them were on tape. And they still convicted us with grand jury testimony with a ton of time. So, even though we knew it was going to happen, we didn't know it was that bad. So in 1985, they had a camera that was 3D and can listen to you from 2 blocks away. What do you think they got today?
Listen, I seen what they got today.
No, I'm sure. But that's why I'm touching on what you're saying.
I used some of it. I'm not going to get into it. I used some of it on a serious operation where I infiltrated a terrorist cell. And I got to use certain equipment to do this. And we don't have a shot. Listen to me.
No, I believe it.
We do not have a shot.
There's nobody tougher than the government.
Okay? The stuff that I had, you would never think what this can do.
I believe it.
There's no shot.
And I think it fucks it up a little bit because if people are watching these new shows now that came out and they're seeing the technology that they had 40 years ago, you know what I mean? And it's like, you walk into some areas with your cell phone today and it buffers. They were talking to somebody on the moon in 1969, clear as day. He's like, are you kidding me?
No, for real.
Right, so what do you think these people have?
So what do you guys think is going to happen then to all these guys that are trying to earn now, but obviously they're up against a battle they can't
There's nobody
win?
earning anymore like that.
No,
Gambling's legal. Yeah. Weed's legal. And even people, I was talking to people that are out of the game now, but they said that with the last they were in it, the weed they were getting, they don't even know if it's real or fake anymore that they're buying. Because what are you going to do now? And then these guys are coming up on the streets. There's nobody on the streets to teach them what they're doing. So they're just going out there saying we're criminals and we're going to free ball. The rappers are on tape. Gangsters become rappers and they talk about people they shoot and then they get indicted now because now they're using the RICO against rappers.
I saw that.
Yeah, that's how they got Young Thug.
Yep.
The kid that just got...
Casanova.
Whatever. The kid that just got clipped.
Which before wasn't like that. They could say
King
what they
Von.
want. They could say what they want and say it's just music,
right, now,
culture. But now, no, they're saying...
And they have, because they made it known, not just the hip-hop police, it's like the social media police where people just sit and they're attached to one gang because they don't do it anymore. But every crime family had like 100 FBI agents attached to them. One guy was a Gambino guy, federal agents. Now it's you take 86th Street, you take 85th Street, just like that old block. That's what, the big, and you watch everybody's social media and they indict people off their YouTube and their, whatever it is, Instagram. I'm terrible with social media, as you know. So, and that's how they're arresting people. And they're social media police. They just sit in a room all day watching everybody's thing until they can pick a crime out of it.
Make sure you guys like and subscribe if you're those police that are watching the show.
Oh, believe me, they're watching.
Oh, they're watching. They're watching. There's a group of analysts that are hired by the government just to watch these podcasts.
Oh, absolutely.
And to make notes.
Because they know every crime you've ever copped out to. So as soon as you talk about something you didn't cop out to, they're going to indict you on it.
It's not even that to watch it physically. It's an algorithm that go into a program and some AI will just be listening for keywords and key things. And before you know it,
a red flag pops up.
You're in a different category, a subcategory, in this category. And okay, this is the cream. And they're going to just look.
It's like being fraudulent on your tax returns. So in Canada, we have the CRA, which is like the IRS, right? And a lot of guys are still trying to do that. Like we have real estate guys. They want to earn, or they earn 300-400K. They don't, years go by, they don't claim taxes and they try to settle with them afterwards. And I'm like, I don't know if that's really a good option because it's not like they take years to catch you. Like even if you only claim 100K, they know guys in your bracket claim this much, make this much, claim this much. This is what you should be left with. It's not somebody checking your tax return. It's all computers. Yes. And then if you don't fall in line with the other guys that are earning 300 to 400K, how much do they claim? How much should they pay? a red flag pops up, and a person then looks into you. And so it's like you have all this technology, you really can't get away with that stuff. And it kind of reminds me of that.
No, you know what? It's funny you said it because I was watching something about that on the IRS. I was just going to make funny for bringing it up. I'm like, bringing up IRS. I'm talking about organized crime. But it was the IRS, and there was guys, they keep guys in a certain bracket. Like you talk about, these guys make from $300,000 to $700,000. And then somebody in that bracket, and I think if they use an algorithm for it, drops down to $150,000, they send in a forensic accountant to do that.
Yeah.
And that guy goes through them with a fine-tooth comb. And that's what these guys get paid to do. What do you think all these colleges are giving educations to sports athletes? Are giving educations to accountants, lawyers, all these people, CPAs, you know what I mean? So it's funny you brought that up. It was pretty good. I was going to make fun of you for it, but...
We asked about your family. You explained it. What's going on with your family? Like, what kind of family situation do you have now?
What's your day like?
Yeah, I have a few kids, and I'm seeing somebody, but nothing. I really don't. Yeah, parents are dead.
What does your regular day look like these days? Like, what are you up to?
I don't need a new indictment. No, I'm kidding. Well, I just had knee surgery, so I gained a little weight sitting up. Just started physical therapy. That's why I got out today. But usually, I'm in sports cards now. So surfing the internet, trying to, look for new ideas, for entrepreneurs. It's hard to get a job living in New York that you can support yourself with 10 felonies. You know what I mean? And I went back to a union because you could work as a tradesman because they take you can't do no labor work. They take your book away for organized crime. And they were fine with my state felonies. I was 6 hours on the job. It pays well in the six figures. I was 6 hours on the job, and the building manager came and ripped me out of the building. My federal, felonies came back, and that was a no-no. Like, you can't walk into certain buildings in New York City. Like the Trade Center, like any of these places, you got to give your ID. They run you. You got a federal charge. You can't even be in some of these buildings. Yeah.
So what's the solution? Starting your own thing?
So to live in New York, if you're not making six figures, you got to go apply for welfare and get, whatever that's called, Section 8 or some shit, where they pay a part of it and you end up in some projects in Brownsville. And you got to live like a 90 mile. So if you're not out there using your head to make money, I can't do it anymore, working. My knees are bad, things like that. So I can't be a laborer in the union because they took my book away, and I can't do it off the books either because you kill yourself. So I took the sanitation test back in 2009 because they hire felons. They called me in 2016, but something happened. I didn't take it. 2 years ago, I took it again, and I just got the results. But it's going to take I'll be 50 before they hire me, but they would hire me.
Sanitation hasn't real sanitation,
because there's two kinds of sanitation that you guys talk about.
I can't work for the other one, but this one's a civil servant's job. I scored a 90 on the test, so I think 100,000 people took it. I'm at 20-something thousand or something. I just went down to 2 Lafayette one day and I took the test, and they just sent me the results after 2 years.
Shit, that's a long time.
I mean, it's just, and I can't answer the phone. I can't trade stocks. I can't, you know what I mean? So.
What about real estate?
Can't get a real estate license?
No way.
Nope.
Wow.
You can't be a convicted felon and get a real estate license?
What about just buying real estate? Do they discriminate?
No, you can buy real estate.
No.
But to make any money at it, you got to buy rentals. You got to have big wood behind you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And in this day and age, you got people living in apartments for 2 years without paying rent because of COVID.
That's messed up. Wow. It's a big risk, right?
Yeah. You got to have these guys that are very established with the real estate.
But what about taking, what about taking what kind of what Michael's doing, what Sammy's doing? What about taking this a little bit more seriously, putting out the books, putting out the content?
I got 38 years in the streets. I could tell you backwards and forwards from the crack era to organized crime, to sitting with bosses. My name's not going to hold any weight. Sammy Cavallo testified against John Gotti, testified against the boxing. Michael Francese's son. And I think a lot of his backing is the church. He's got, he gets some 300,000-400,000 views because his following. I heard about when this guy goes to speak It's like hundreds of thousands of people listen to him. So he had that. They had this coming into it. People couldn't wait for Sammy to get out. They know he's been on 24-hour lockdown. This is a guy that testified against the mob. He don't give a shit. Did 20 years after that. That's a big name. So, I mean, you think Sammy's pulling in, telling stories about the 60s and 70s? He's pulling it in. He got them to come and listen to the stories because of who he was. And the stories are real and interesting, so they stay on. You can't, look at all these other guys that have established shows. Jeff Nadeau, all these guys. I don't listen, but they've been at it for a while, and their numbers are terrible.
Right.
Good for them, maybe, but to make any money at this, you got to pull Sammy numbers and Michael numbers.
Would you guys ever be, because I love this right now, would you guys ever be down to do even bigger collabs in the future? Because this is really fun right now. I'm enjoying this.
These are the only show I come on. I don't do interviews anymore. I came on because Frankie recommended you guys to me. I don't do really interviews anymore. I get calls every day. Not saying I'm a popular guy, but people like having me on the show. Well, you're a millennial, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Unfortunately.
Gen Z?
No, I'm millennial.
All right. I don't go too hard on millennials. But you don't do all the crazy shit with the cake and the thing and fly it down in a helicopter. With all these fancy games.
Let me give
these people today.
So let me give thank you for asking that. So let me give our audience.
So we get to plug his life.
Where's the camera? Where should I be looking right now? This one? It's rolling. So we don't like millennials.
Okay, there you go.
All right. It's called Millennials Choice because it's a play on words. We're millennials, etc. Our business, Millennials Choice Real Estate. That's why we call it. It's good for marketing. But we're old school. Our parents came to the country in the mid 80s. They met in Canada, got married there, and then they had myself and Danny. So we knew the immigrant mentality. We don't know this other entitled bullshit, climate change and all this stuff. And we don't fall for that stuff. We fall for mind your own business, work, be a good person, and don't screw around.
Yeah.
That's it. So
that's good.
So when we what were you were asking about the millennials? You said,
see what he just did there? Now I can't make fun of the name of his business anymore. Because if you do come from immigrant parents, I don't put you in categories with Gen Z, Gen X, because immigrant parents, no matter where you come, my family came here in the 60s on a boat. I know what it is. My father didn't speak a lick of English. My mother only spoke Sicilian, so I know.
You know what the struggle is like. Yeah.
Forget about the struggle. Like people talk about leftovers. I'm like, leftovers? There was never leftovers because there was never enough. There was enough. There was always an extra plate if somebody needs, but you know what I mean.
But also everyone
if you didn't come home, put my plate on the stove. No, your brother's going to eat it if you're not at the dinner table, and then you're going to get a beating for not being at the dinner table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when you come from immigrant parents, you could be born here, first generation, or in Canada. I know there's a lot of immigrants there as well. You just get a pass. Nobody gets categories. No Gen Z, no Gen X. Because I like when I see the Italian girls calling Nonna, and their mother was born in this country. Your grandmother's 35 years old. You're calling her Nonna? She's not a Nonna. She don't come from the other side. You can't call her Nonna.
It's like that work ethic, like we have that work ethic about us. We want to help people, but then when you look at what's going on in the world, especially our age group, Gen Zs, honestly, they're a big part of the problem. Because there's enough of us. We are the largest demographic, the millennials now.
What do you mean? Like they're part of the problem? Though?
They're part of the problem in terms
what
of
way?
Everything you hear about.
Well, the housing market, right? Millennials aren't buying houses. They said.
That's not their fault.
Oh, here we go.
See what I mean?
No, but that's not their fault.
No, we butt heads. We butt heads.
Yeah, but how's that their fault? Though? Look at how high the rates are.
But coming from an immigrant family, right? Your father could have been a bus driver, cab driver, worked in a kitchen. Whatever they did when they came here. My father had a trade. He was a welder when he came, a master mechanic. But his friends worked in the industry, right? But they did that to send their kids to get a degree to be lawyers, real estate brokers, doctors. Yeah. And their fathers and mothers were peasants, right? So that's what yours are doing, right? What did your parents do, if you don't mind saying it?
They had to...
hard work in a white shirt. I don't want to say nothing, but that's a millennial move.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, but isn't that what your parents wanted you to be? They came to this country.
Yeah.
They wanted the best for us, for sure.
To have the best for you.
Yep.
So basically, my parents were teachers in Iraq. When they came here, the credentials didn't transfer over because they wanted them to work manual labor jobs. So they went to coffee shops. They went to convenience stores.
Like I said.
Back then, it was a very lucrative business to be like a manager of I don't know if you guys have it here, but like a Max Milk, like a convenience store chain.
Yeah, one on every corner.
Yeah, so like...
No, I never heard of Max Milk before.
Yeah, so...
Well, Hasty Market.
No, but why did they do it?
They had
do it for themselves.
They had no choice.
They had no choice.
Entrepreneurship now. Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur.
Did they do it because they wanted a Ferrari? They wanted a Rolex? No, right? They did it so they can better themselves, come into a country that they need to show they belong here, and then to better use for it. Because you aren't going to have to do what we did.
Yeah.
You're not cleaning coffee grinds. Whatever they did, they didn't want yous doing. That's the immigrant mentality. The millennial whose parents are born here, come home to mommy. I'll fold your clothes. And that's great because we all got beat to... It's nice to treat your kids like that. I would never want to lay your hands on my kids the way... But you're taking away their biggest resource. And that's socializing, going out and doing laundry. The little things.
Problem solving
bring them out to,
on their own.
But that's what it becomes, problem solving. Yeah. Doing laundry, grocery shopping, making your own bed, right? What do they say? Right? If a guy don't make his bed, he's a serial killer, right? Like why do you think when you go to the army, when you go to jail, your bed's got to be high and tight. You can't get in your, in the state, you can't lay on your bed. It's got to be made. And like people don't understand that when they go there. And it's like because you weren't raised right. And that's, I think, where the problem is. They're not teaching them everyday stuff that you need out in the world.
No. Well, they're doing too much for them, right? Like, and Frankie, like you can speak on this too. Like, you let your daughter like figure things out for herself, right? Like
you guide her.
Yeah, I let her figure things out, and plus I teach her.
Yeah,
because I want her to know everything. I want her to be the go-to kid in case something goes down.
Yeah,
all the kids are gonna come to her and say, "What do we do?" I want her. I want her to be independent. I don't want her to depend on nobody. And I want her to not be like how these kids are turning out today. And it's like from my generation, kids are turning out that way where they identify as a lampshade. I'm this, I'm a
Which
tiger.
Doesn't make sense. Yeah.
It's just so bizarre.
Yeah.
Bizarre the way it's going. I'm just wondering in 30 more years, what is it going to be like?
I think it's over, bro. I think honestly, like I don't share my thoughts off the mic because I post on my Instagram. I speak openly against this. I take a lot of heat for it. There's a lot of things we had to do, like even our office address when we were interviewing a lot of these guys, Sammy and them. I had to remove our office address off Google. One chick was like, "Oh yeah, you guys want to talk about this?" She's like, "Brave of you. Your office address is on the internet." I'm like, "Wow, okay, people are thinking like this. Take the office address off the internet. Why would you have it there? Nobody needs to come to the office unless we're doing business." Right? Look how crazy people are. But meanwhile, you know why I don't empathize, I don't sympathize with them, a lot of them, is because I seen my parents struggle. I hustled. I always had 2 or 3 jobs in high school. In high school, I had 2 lockers. One locker had books. One locker had merchandise from the strip malls that we had near our houses. Because I used to work flipping burgers at Johnny Rockets. You guys had that. You have that here.
Yeah.
I used to flip burgers there. People in the mall used to come around, buy lunch, dinner, whatever. And I used to make connections. So I'd get their discounts. I'd get 40% off this, 40% off that. I'd bring it to school and I'd sell backpacks. When JanSport, there's a brand JanSport, everyone had a black backpack. They brought out white. I was the first one to wear the white one. People asked me where I got it. I'd sell it to them. So I always worked. And then I tried to establish myself as best as I can. As hard as it was, as hard as it is now. But then you hear my generation bitching, complaining, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, bro, I can't hear that. It doesn't register up here.
So you got the immigrant hustle.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it.
That doesn't exist.
You're making excuses. I don't support that.
And isn't that bad for Canada? Because you guys are like really left, right? That prime minister, whatever
he's very
Justin.
left.
I heard that he's very left.
That's what I'm saying. You don't want to go there.
I don't get involved in politics, but you sound like you're very right. And I know if you're going right, it's no good in Canada. Like everybody's against that.
Here's how I am. You want to be gay, you want to be whatever. I don't care. That's your life.
No, but that's anybody. Just don't shove it down my throat.
Don't shove it down my throat. If I want to walk downtown with my kid and they're old enough, I don't need to see male body parts for 1 month straight. 1 month not straight. I don't want to see male body parts because there's children. They're innocent. I don't need to see that. They don't need to see that. You don't need to project what you want them to learn or assimilate to because of your own personal agenda. Right. The prime minister's girl just left.
I heard.
We don't know why, but we could assume why. Right?
But I heard.
Hold on. But going back to what we're talking about right now, just so we don't go off, like we were talking about like the young generation right now. I don't think it's right to just kind of crucify them in a sense when they were babied by their parents.
Doesn't matter.
No, just listen. It does though. It affects how they are raised. Their upbringing affects who they are today. So I feel like a lot of kids these days, and by kids I'm talking anyone that's from like, I don't know, 10 years old to like 15 teenagers, right? they don't know what to do in life.
Okay, but what did you say yesterday in the hotel room or on the way here? What did you say? You're like, thank God we turned out the way we were, even though mom and dad were the way they were.
But I'm not talking our generation.
No,
right
but
now.
10
I'm
and
talking
15,
about
we're not
younger.
Gen Z's 22. They just graduated. Gen Z's
Gen Z's
graduating
like
college.
Eddie's age.
Yeah, I'm talking about young.
2000.
Young adults.
So that's
like,
23 years ago. They graduated college and they're going home instead of going to work an internship.
yeah, but you know what the problem is though? Like
These guys
those
had
guys,
2 jobs in high school.
100%. But you know what
Now
the
you got
difference
no
is?
college.
Here's the difference though. Now there's social media. Now all those kids see.
There's been social media for 25
Not
years.
the same though. Now it's so different because
I'm just
now
saying, it was-
all people see now is
Turn it off, bro.
No, you're
easier
right.
said than done.
Influencers that make
Now
100,000 a month.
Yeah,
that
so
never worked a day in their
It makes
life.
people, young kids, and why did I say young? Yeah, it's the young people at 20 years old, 15. It's all pretty much that demographic. They're seeing these young influencers going and doing it, and they feel like, wow, like look at this person, look what they're doing with their lives, and what am I doing with my life? And they make them feel like shit. But we all know on social media, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, but come on.
It's not all
Your
like
parents
that.
are supposed to teach you
But they
not
didn't,
to care what other people have.
But they didn't, though.
Listen, there's kids that I think are less person than I am, and they make $300,000 a month. I don't say that should be me. If I want to go out and do that, that's what I should do. That's the mentality these kids should know.
I agree with you, but they don't have it, though. It's hard because their parents didn't teach it to them and show it to them. Their parents do them in front of a screen, right?
Yeah, but shouldn't reality teach that out in the world?
So we're called the Millennials
I'm just
Choice
saying.
Show.
No, you're right.
Are you staying at the Millennial across the street?
There was a Millennial?
Right across the
No,
street.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, we goofed that. We should have definitely stayed.
There's 2 Millennials. There's one downtown. There's one right here.
No, but so when we look at our, actually New York City is our number 1 city in terms of who's viewing us.
Wow.
Actually, the top 10 cities are all American. They're the biggest cities. LA, Phoenix.
Real estate and
New York.
organized crime.
Yeah, and
It's huge here.
Toronto's the only city that's in there. It's like
Right.
number 7. But most of our audience is American. And when I look specifically at the age groups, it ain't millennials. It's the Gen X that are watching us the most.
Right.
And I've always had this problem when I was younger. In high school, I have friends, I'm cool with people, whatever, but I don't understand them because I was looking at the 20-year-olds. What are you doing? How are you guys getting money?
Mm-hmm.
And I want to learn from them. So now our clientele, most of them are not millennials. Most of them are older guys.
Gen X.
They understand, and then they see young guys working and they want to help. Like, you guys want to help? They want to help. They respect that.
That's the
They
mentality.
see the work ethic and they're like, these guys are
The work
hustlers. These guys
ethic.
are working hard. They're killing it and they want to work with us,
Immigrant
right?
parents.
Yeah.
That's
Not
the
millennials.
shit, yeah.
Immigrant
So I guess
parents.
it's
That's
both
all
to
you need.
blame. It's a combination. Yeah, I guess it's
If
a
you're not
combination.
Gen X, you were raised by a boomer. If you're raised by a boomer, which your parents are,
Yeah.
you're gonna get work ethic. Not even by working, by watching them.
Yeah.
Now,
By
Boomer,
watching
what
them.
year is Boomer? What did Boomer?
60s, no?
45 to 65,
Yeah.
and
Gotcha.
then
Yeah.
65 to 80,
It's kind
And
of,
what's
and
that?
80 to 2000.
What's 65 to 80? What's that?
That's us, Gen X.
Gen X?
but it's kind of like that saying. Have you guys heard that saying where they say bad or hard times breeds strong people, and strong people breed good times, and then those good times breed weak people.
That
I
create
think
bad
That
times.
create bad times.
Yeah.
So it's like this circle. I don't know if you guys have heard that.
Well, we're getting blamed for it.
But
Because the boomers set everything up for the Gen X to thrive in the economy.
Exactly.
Now the Gen X booms into the economy, but we give all the money where we're not supposed
and
to.
the help,
And the Gen
the hand
Z
holding.
is getting their hands held. I mean,
That's
how-
what it is.
That's what
Exactly.
the world's saying.
But that's what
That's
I
all
think.
new
it-
for guys like us. I
That's
didn't even
what
know these shits until I got on social media 3 years ago.
Yeah.
That's what I think is happening though with the new generation. So they're kind of like lost with no identity.
They really
right?
are.
And that's the problem when you're saying like people are identifying themselves as cats and they just don't know what to believe about themselves, let alone about the world. So that's the problem I think that we're facing right now. There's not that
Purpose.
right? There's no sense of purpose and they just don't know what to do.
Well, that's
I've
the thing. They
literally-
don't want to get off the couch. So
That's
when
the
my
pro-
knee's good,
they're beat and they don't want to
my
get off the
knee's
couch.
good and I go through my therapy, whatever job I can do until I find what I want to do, I'm going to get off the couch and go do it. As soon as my doctor gives me a clean bill out, that's a mentality they don't have. They're going to sit and wait for what they think is good. I have to do something while I'm waiting because $5 is more than what you had sitting on the couch at home. But you're sitting at home. Back then, my generation and my brother's family, they're born in the 60s and early 70s. As soon as they didn't go to school or they had to give $100 a week. You're not staying here unless you give my mother $100 a week. Regardless if they needed it or not, it taught Gen X to go out and find something to do because you're not sitting at home playing Atari or Nintendo. You're gonna go do
Atari's
something.
a classic.
You're gonna
Like
do something.
Atari.
No, I'm just saying. I didn't have video games,
PlayStation,
but I'm just
yeah.
saying. Today they play PlayStation. Back then they played Atari and ColecoVision. So you're gonna go out and you're gonna work at the pizzeria. You're gonna be a delivery guy.
Yeah.
It may not. That's what you're not thriving to be. But that's what you're going to do until the city job comes along or somebody gets you in the union or you find what you want to do. You're not going to sit at home finding what you're going to do.
And just to jump in, the millennials we do work with, we have guys, I don't like every millennial. I'm a millennial. But the millennials we do work with, they all have jobs. They got their head on their shoulders correctly and straight, and they're working and they're buying property. And they're saving. They live on their own. They're doing their thing. Like
those are hard to come by.
But it still exists in terms of the opportunity. So as much as yes, maybe someone was misled the wrong way or whatever, bro, with access to this, you could figure whatever you want out.
For sure.
Now you could just talk to it and it talks back to you. But people especially in the West, I feel like, why do immigrants that are millennials, let's say, why do they come to the country? And from wherever, India or whatever, and they succeed in a few years. When the guy born here is
well, you know that
why?
Because they did a lot with a little there, and a little here is a lot there.
Exactly.
That's why immigrants succeed here,
and they're not
they
comfortable.
Say, you came here with the shirt on your I love all the that's what's going on right now in the world, Palestine and Israel, but everybody from Iran comes here as an enemy to their country. With nothing. Pat Bevi was in a concentration camp in another country. Came here, went to the army, got home from the army, got his life straight. Millionaire, multimillionaire. Everybody that I've heard come out of Iran that left with the clothes on their back all succeeded in this country. Never, not one person, not one story have I heard, and I've heard hundreds, were failures. They came here with nothing. They couldn't even speak the language, a lot of them. And English is one of the hardest languages to learn, but they came here, they pulled their straps up on their boots, and they went to work no matter what it was until other opportunities came along. They didn't go to the bar at night. They didn't, cash their check with the barmaid. They went home, they ate scraps, they put their money away. When they had enough, they bought a house because we need to own something so our family can live here. And they make fun of the immigrants. There's 30 in a house, 50 in a car. Why? That's what they do. They buy a piece of property so their family don't have to struggle like they did. The American dream, right? And then they go out in the world, now that they have a place to live, and they could take a job or two jobs that equal a decent pay and not have to worry about the inflation and prices and rent or whatever. And I love that. And I hear these stories all the time. Yeah. And the biggest success stories are the ones that come out of Iran. That those people all succeed when they get to this country and they don't have nothing.
And that's the thing here. Like, this is what when I say here, I do mean Canada and US, because even though
North America.
The West,
North America.
The West. North America.
Even though Canada is very socialist.
Yeah, no, I can't believe that.
From time. But the point is, people don't fail here. They just quit. That's what I think it is.
That's the whole thing. You shouldn't fail here.
You shouldn't fail.
Failure shouldn't be anything. You quit.
People don't go hungry. People don't go hungry here.
Now, here's a question.
Yeah.
Like the kids today that are having all these issues, what are they called?
Gen X. Oh, Gen Z.
Gen Z.
They're Gen Z.
Everybody's born from 2000.
Now, follow. Those are the kids today. That means Gen X is their parents.
We fucked up.
We're the fuck ups.
Because we didn't want to do to them what was done to us. Exactly. And we fucked up.
Because if you really go back, we're the problem now.
Yeah.
The Gen X is the problem of what's happening now.
I would never. But if I hit anybody the way my parents beat me, I'd go to jail for fucking life. So, they beat it into us. And they threw us out into the jungle. They said, don't come home until the street light comes on, no matter what. And we don't care. Don't come and tell us somebody beat you up. Grab your brother, grab your sister, grab your friend, and go get them. We don't want to know anything. Just be home for dinner. Yeah. And you can't stay in the house. We don't care what. But that was the baby boomers. They didn't give a shit.
I feel like it was on one serious extreme, right? Like super strict and all these things in a sense, right? where they're like, their word was, you know, you're not allowed to stay home, go out, and then you come back, and all those things you just said. It was on one extreme, and then I feel like on the other side of it, the Gen Xers, it was on the other extreme, right? Whereas like you didn't want to do to your kids what your parents did, and etc. And you want to give them a better life, and you made it, you know, very comfortable for them. And then now I feel like they're just on the spectrum, not knowing what to do because
we did to them.
It was very easy for them, right? And I don't think it's just that. So you guys shouldn't put that all on your shoulders.
No, it is.
It is. No, it is.
The problem is kids need to see the dark side.
That's true.
And Gen X don't want our kids to see the dark side.
But I think
it's dark over there.
It's very dark. But I think it's also a combination of also what's going on in the world. Think about it this way: if you're a young person in this world, in your 20s, let's say 20 years old, and you just graduated high school, or you're actually thinking about going to university or college, whatever it is, if you're 18, right? 17, 18. Think about it. Are you really going to be motivated to go and pursue a career that, first of all, you feel like you don't really know what you want to do? They're just kind of throwing you into, you know, the lines then there with school, and you don't really know what to pick. But at the same time, there's wars happening in the world. There's economies crashing. No one can afford real estate. What's really going to motivate you as a young person?
But that was the 80s for us. The 80s, there was wars, there was real estate collapses. Everybody's saying like Gen Z lived through 3 wars.
Yeah.
We lived through it all. But my whole thing is, listen, when we went out to earn and we didn't like a boss, say a job, right? We couldn't say, well, fuck it, I'll go home. We had to say, shit, I got to stick this out because I can't go home. Because I got to go home. They want $100 a week. They want $200 a week. Now they say, I'm just going to go home and sleep in the basement. Right. I'm going to play Xbox all day. I'm going to play on the iPad all day.
They're very comfortable and their back's not up against the wall, right? Whereas you guys, you have to do what you have to do.
So look today, right? You see a beautiful girl on TikTok dancing. And you see a boyfriend dancing with her, right? In our era, could you imagine going and dancing on TikTok? As soon as I get into a fight with that girl, she'll say, you fucking sissy. Look at you. You were dancing like a sissy in a video with me 3 weeks ago. Now you want to go out and cheat on me? Like, that was the girls that I grew up with. Like, you couldn't go on the phone with your guy. And then they pass around the guy. Like, that whole influencer, they all sleep with the same guys. They all sleep with the same girls. Then they're dating guys who date guys and girls. If I dated a girl and if she dated a guy who liked guys and girls and they got into a fight, she'd be like, you had a dick in your mouth last night. Or you took it up your ass. Like, those are the Gen X girls. That's how they would treat. Today, you're on TikTok dancing with guys. Imagine dancing on TikTok in our era. You get abused. That's the difference. So that's the one thing. If I see my kids dancing on TikTok and I put a foot in their ass. That's not reality. That's reality, but not for people like you. Maybe people on the West Coast. See, those are the things you got to drill into your kids. The problem is those people don't.
I don't even put TikTok. I don't even have TikTok on my phone. But you get what I'm saying?
Millennials, I don't see millennials do that. It's all Gen Z. It's all these college kids just graduating college, and you know that. But it's like I try to think in my era what girls would have said. You're a sissy. Not being political, but that's what they would have called you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, you were taking it up your ass yesterday, and you're cheating on me today. Like, that's what they would say. You see these beautiful girls. So, I was dating a guy who went both ways. I'm like, how could you respect? Like, you're upset that he cheated on you with a girl, but the night before he had a cock in his ass? Like, that's the mentality of Gen Z.
Yeah.
You can't.
With
there's
social
no way
media,
a world like that can succeed.
No, with social media, it's really different, man. Now it's
Imagine,
like they're seeing so much shit.
You couldn't. Well, in my house, they didn't teach us how to speak Sicilian, so we never had to leave the room. So they talk about problems, Christmas, whatever. The problem today is they don't. You know what I mean? Like, that's just, they don't like keep them separate. Everybody knows what their mother does. Everybody knows what their father. They know their business. Back then, it was whispered.
Yeah.
Your neighbors weren't supposed to know your business.
Yeah.
Today, everybody knows everything.
Nowadays, you have moms doing OnlyFans, and they have kids. They fully. Did you guys hear about the teacher?
I never watched one OnlyFans. I hear about this every day.
Did you guys hear about the teacher? Did you guys hear about the teacher?
He's got several subscriptions.
No, I don't
have.
Did you guys hear about the teacher? She's a school teacher. She was doing OnlyFans. And obviously,
they fired her, right?
They fired her. The principal found out.
She's like, I'm making more money on OnlyFans.
One kid was watching her OnlyFans, something like that, and he's like, wait, this is this teacher at the school, blah, blah, blah. And parents found out, principal found out, and they fired her. They let her go. But like, how, I don't know, for me, it's like, how can you be a parent, first of all, and then also be like someone at a school, you're a teacher, you're someone in authority to help kids, but you're also doing that on the side. That doesn't make sense to me because why would you put your kid through that kind of stress and problem? Because that kid's going to have problems. People are going to make fun of him or her and say, your mom does OnlyFans. And guess what? That kid's going to, have anxiety. That kid's going to have other problems that they're going to have to deal with.
Well, then then that goes with the subject of what about these teachers that are smoking hot that fuck these kids?
That's even worse.
And they come out and tell.
Yeah, that's messed up.
How do you be that kid going back to school?
No, you can't.
I mean, that never happened in Gen X. Teachers didn't look like that. But they weren't sleeping with 13, 14, 15-year-old kids.
It's happening a lot
like
though
it
right
happens
now.
all the time,
Yeah.
right? So then if you're going to fire a teacher for being on OnlyFans, which you have to pay for, it's not like public access TV, how do you let people to come in and teach? I would never let it happen. I put my kids in private school, teach them about transvestite. They have a transvestite in the classroom teaching the kid about they, him. How do you bring that into the classroom and ram that down my 6-year-old's throat, but then want to fire a teacher who's on a private site taking off her fucking panties? It doesn't make...
We're
so
backwards
how is this
right now.
world
Yeah,
want to go
yeah.
so left with the educational system and then go right when it's one of theirs? I
I
don't
feel like when
get
it's
how that
convenient for them,
works.
yeah.
I don't get how that works, But like, I only heard about OnlyFans because Gen X is Carmen Electra, Drea Di Matteo. So if you follow them, they have OnlyFans
Jenna
now.
Jameson.
Oh, I don't like Jenna Jameson.
No?
I don't do porn stars. So, but I'm saying like that, you find out if you follow them on Instagram or whatever, they're doing OnlyFans. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Then you see all these girls, 21, 20, that are making $600,000-$700,000 a month for taking off their panties.
What are they doing exactly?
I don't
on the
know. I've
OnlyFans?
never seen one. I don't know. I'm like one of those people, if you even punch it into the phone, I think the government gets it. They're going to fucking tell me.
No, you end up on a special list.
Yeah, you want
Yeah, you go on a special list.
I don't type
That's
it
why I
into
don't
my
go crazy
phone,
on YouTube. I don't want to end up on that
but
list.
I'll watch it on Instagram, and you'll see all the feedback. Like Carmen Electra gets bad feedback from Gen Zs and Gen Xs and Boomers, but the Gen Zs love it. You know what I mean?
Did you hear about FeetFinder? The girls just post
What's it
photos
called?
of FeetFinder. They post
I'm
photos
not a
of
feet
stuff.
guy.
I think about. I don't know about FeetFinder. I heard of it. They just have photos, I guess, and stuff of their, or they do
That's
videos
what
of their
Electra was
feet.
talking about.
Or they do stuff like with their feet. It's a fetish, and like people love it. And apparently, girls are making like hundreds and thousands of dollars a month.
What about the girl who sells her own farts?
That girl just doesn't make
Someone
sense,
pays
guys.
a girl to sell her own farts.
No, come on, that's
She
bullshit.
She
No, she
bags,
farts,
of course.
in
She
a-
bags her
it's a-
farts, bro.
She puts in a glass like case, and then people buy it. People
It stays
spend.
fresh in
How the
the.
fuck do you fuck in glass? How does that even
What,
work?
you mail it to them?
You tell me this world's gonna succeed? I'm gonna stop.
Let's
Googling my
imagine in 30
doomsday
years
bunker.
But
what's
she
gonna
almost
happen.
died, eh? She farted a lot. She was trying to pump out a lot of orders.
See, that makes me not want to get on boats, not fly on planes, because these are the people that are
in
flying
charge of
planes.
it.
It's scary.
Right, these are the people that are taking over the world.
It's gonna be technology. That's what we were talking about. We said it's gonna end up being technology, bro.
Yeah, I think I was watching Elon Musk, and he's talking about within the next 5 years, every car that he makes will be self-driving. We'll have autopilot options.
Elon, you said? Yeah.
We'll have autopilot options.
That's sick, though. I can't wait for that because first thing I'm going to do is buy a Tesla or whatever it is and let it go on autopilot all night and pick up people and make money for me.
Right. And then when you're in there sleeping and it gets into a car accident, your family gets to sue for $100 million, but you're dead.
Hootie, check it out.
I
My
don't
friend
believe
has
in
a
that
Tesla
shit.
and he puts it on autopilot and goes to sleep. His dog is in the car. It hit the button. Now it's on. It's a camera, video, and everything. All of a sudden, you see the car go off the road into the thing and crash.
Get out of
The
here.
dog hit the autopilot off.
Was the dog okay, though?
Yeah, they were all okay.
do you mean the
Airbags
dog
went
was
off.
okay?
Is the dog okay?
Wait, who was
what
in
a
the car?
millennial statement.
No, no.
Not, is the guy
Were there-
okay?
No, he's
were
okay.
these people- Were these
Is the
people in the
dog
car?
okay?
See what I mean?
No, wait,
See
were
what
there
I
people
mean?
in the car? I didn't know.
Yeah,
I
my
thought
friend
you went
Chris
to sleep.
was sleeping.
Oh, that your
taking a
friend
nap.
was sleeping in
He had
the
the car
car.
on autopilot.
Oh, sorry,
And the dog,
This guy has to look him up
the
first.
dog hit the button.
That's a millennial thing.
Was the guy okay?
Yeah, he's okay.
I thought the guy was like sleeping somewhere else and the dog was in the car alone. It was on
They hadn't
autopilot.
No,
they hadn't
no.
made those yet.
No, right?
Not yet, no. He's like, wait, I would have bought one.
Because I get the video, I'm watching this guy, they're driving, because he didn't say nothing. All of a sudden I see him go off the road, and then he tells me, hey, the dog did it.
Yeah, but how's the other thing is, I don't know if it's true yet. Elon Musk hasn't talked about it, but they say when the Tesla's parked, the camera's running 24/7 because they use it on TV. When a guy commits a crime and there's a Tesla, he goes, "Get the owner, the camera," and the camera footage is you see that you can't commit a crime in front of a Tesla.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, they watch everything. Elon Musk hasn't talked about this, so I don't know if it's true, but they had it on Dateline.
I don't know. Ever since he started bringing people to Mars, or I don't know if they did that yet. I don't know if they sent people to Mars. Ever since then, I'm like, I don't know, man, with this guy. What his plans?
The two guys that I love is the two richest guys in the world, Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. One lives in a $50,000 house, and the other one can't find enough things to buy. Total opposites, and I love both of them because they.
And there's one more too, Branson, that Branson guy.
Oh, he lives on an island. Nobody knows. But these guys are in your face every day. Jeff Bezos just did a spread in Vogue. And they're like, why would he put his girlfriend in Vogue, his new wife? They're like, he must have paid whatever her name is, Wintoff, millions of dollars to put his new wife in Vogue. Like, he's just out putting his wife in Vogue payments. And then Elon Musk is living in a $50,000 house. You know what I mean? Like, you just got to love the mentality of geniuses. That's just my whole point.
Elon Musk is a genius, but I feel like he's too smart because these guys you guys saw the chip they're putting in people's brains now?
I love that.
That's crazy, though. Chip in the hand is
where you
old.
Can pay for things.
No, but that's old. That's old.
I just found out about that.
That's old. No,
I see guys pay for things with their palm on a commercial.
You thought it was like Star Wars. You thought he was doing the Force.
What the fuck is that?
I'm talking about Elon Musk now putting like this brain in people, this chip in people's brain, the Neuralink. Thank you. And they could if they were paralyzed, they can walk again.
I gotta get up on my.
That's
I gotta
crazy.
get up on my Elon Musk nose.
Yeah, dude, that's crazy though. Yeah.
It's actually starting human trials very soon.
That's why I heard about that.
Yes, a genius is borderline, but nut job.
Yeah, they're all nut jobs.
It's on that line.
Yeah, he's whacked out. Listen, I just listen to them. They're both whacked out. One just wants to build rockets and go to Mars, and the other one just wants people to keep creating things for him to buy. Just keep making more toys. I'll keep buying them. Yeah. Buy more watches, buys more houses, and he just can't spend his money fast enough. And then you got Elon Musk living in a $50,000 house, and he names his kid CMC Square.
Yeah.
Every one of his kids, every XM, it all means metal, and all his kids have letters that mean numbers as their names. And he's a regular guy. He was eating sardines and pineapple on pizza the other day on Joe Rogan. That was fucking great. And you see Joe Rogan's going, tell him it's from us. He goes, no, don't tell him it's for me, because he thinks they're going to poison him. Joe Rogan's like, I don't give a fuck. He goes, I went to the doctor. The doctor says I have a magnesium problem. I eat too many sardines. I'm like, this is what these guys are talking about. Yeah. He's a billionaire. And then Joe's like, oh, what car should I buy? Buy the S-Type. He goes out and buys the S-Type. It's just insane. I just watch it and I'm like, these people just are what are they?
They're at a different level.
Masters of the universe. That's what they used to call, Bill Gates, all those guys from the years ago. Because there was only 3 people in the whole world that had money besides the sheiks,
Yeah.
And it's just insane. So I just watch them, and because I don't get involved in politics, so I don't care what anybody does.
Yeah.
I just find it amusing. You know what I mean? They gave Joe Rogan $250 million. The guy was dirt poor on welfare. So he doesn't know what to do. He says, I buy steak every night. I buy a gun. I buy moose from Canada. This guy's whacked out, For real. And it's just this is the world today.
I know.
It's scary.
It is,
the way it's going.
Because it's there's a passage in the Bible that talks about without dreams.
Easy to get canceled. Don't talk about religion on podcast.
Cancel us.
They get
cancel
canceled.
us. No.
We it says without dreams the people will perish, right? So I think the one thing that
without dreams people will perish.
Yeah. Without dreams people will perish, and it's when what did you see happen in society over the last 10 years? They removed God first. It's not cool to believe in God or do these things.
Or any God.
Any God. It's the family. Attack the family, right? Because if you're not programming your kids, someone else is. And then you have no identity. This is why it's so easy. They're so malleable. Guys like us will sit in here and say, how can someone think they're a cat or this and that? But their brain is malleable. If you told a kid they were a dog from the day they were born, they're going to grow up thinking they're a dog. If you do that to animals, and you've seen those stories where a bear will grow up with, I don't know, let's say a lion.
Dogs that meow, cats that bark.
Yeah, and it's true because they're malleable. So it's it's up to now. I respect a lot of people now, where because of social media, they're willing to get canceled. They're willing to put themselves out there and stand up for what's right. Someone, apparently, Dana White from the UFC.
Yeah, of course. My favorite guy. That's the best guy in the world.
I just saw a clip of him yesterday where he was being interviewed. I forget by who, and
Theo Vaughn.
Theo Vaughn.
And he talked about his sponsor calling him up, telling him to
Yeah.
take his post down about Trump.
He said
it's a free fucking country. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, he said his biggest sponsor said to him, take down what you posted about
Isn't it
Trump.
crazy how we all watched the same interview? That I knew you were going to say, this is social media.
Yeah.
It just gets into certain, like if we like certain things, we live in separate countries, but we all watch the same thing.
But here's what we have to be careful about, and I am very careful about this. That's also programming. I never want to be. I never want to be so blind where all of a sudden I'm agreeing with the wrong thing.
Yeah, but that's picking up your phone for entertainment, not for news.
No.
You get what I'm saying? Because you believe half of what you hear. I mean, nothing of what you hear and half of what you see. Yeah. Right? That's you always got to keep that mentality.
Yeah.
I watch for entertainment. I watched Theo Vaughn. Dana White came on and made that statement.
Yeah.
That's where I heard it. I took it into, I know he's a big Trump supporter because as a friend, not for politics, and he speaks out for the guy, and I take it at that. I don't take it out around by a Trump flag, you know what I mean? But that's where Gen Z would take it. They would follow that. It would be a cult following behind that, you know? Because like you said, they said, what's wrong with the school system? They said the first thing that was wrong with the school system is when they took religion out, when they took God out of the schools, right? Now, when we were kids, I grew up in a gangster neighborhood. So if you said you wanted to be a ball player, put a foot in your ass. You know what I mean? That whole thing when Lefty told Traficante, it's like meeting Mickey Mantle. You told a wise guy, compared him to a baseball player, to put a foot in your ass. That's total false. So I remember as a kid, my father being an immigrant, and I wanted to play shortstop for the Yankees. You ain't a fucking baseball player. You're going to go to work and make a living. So I just wanted to be a baseball player. I didn't want to be a cat, a lampshade, a woman. I wanted to be a baseball player, and he told me to put my work boots on and go to work with him.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's the problem today. Could you imagine telling a boomer that you wanted to be a cat and you wanted to lay around the house all day?
You would have got beaten down like no
My
tomorrow.
mother hung me out a window.
Yeah.
I told him I wanted to play shortstop at 5 years old, and he put a boot in my ass. I wanted to be a baseball player. I didn't want to be Don Mattingly.
I remember when mom got mad at me once in grade 7. I wrote, my friends and I were dissing each other about rap style. It was a joke and nothing, no cursing, nothing. So I wrote it down and they found it. My mom found it. My dad picked us up from school with McDonald's. We love McDonald's, but we're like, something's wrong here. Usually we get home cooked meals.
It's got to be a treat.
It's either a treat or we don't know. It's a trick
or a trick. They're tricking you.
Bro, my dad, this is how he'd have a conversation. Dad, I have a girlfriend. Yeah, he laughs. Dad, I have a girlfriend. He laughs. Dad, I have a girlfriend. Sex before marriage is a sin. That's my dad. So
the bang on the table.
like he doesn't explain, he doesn't give context. I love him for it. But so the McDonald's is in there, he's quiet, we're going home, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? I'm in grade 7, he's in grade 4. So all of a sudden, we get home, we're eating in the middle of our meal, and then he goes, what's this? And he shows me it. He's like, your mom is so mad at you, she's gone for like 3 days. She's with her sister's house.
Get out of here.
I'm like, what the hell? Are you guys serious?
What the hell did you say on that rap?
No, but
nothing. It was just
over
dissing
that.
him. Yeah.
Look what the lengths your parents went to for that little lesson.
To teach us.
And you're talking about it now 30 years later.
Yeah.
They don't take the time out to ask their kid how was school today. Your parents went and bought McDonald's. Your mother went away for 3 days. Your father sat you down, waited for you to get in a good mood, enjoying your meal, and then hit you with it. That was a whole lesson. Yeah. Like they took their time and planned it for a week. Today, kids come home from school and they say they're a labradoodle. Their parents go, "That's fine. Tomorrow will be a fire."
They buy them the leash.
Right. That's just what I'm saying. So that's the problem. Yeah. We're not sitting them down, not going to that extent, but we're not sitting them down and saying, "No, you're not a fucking labradoodle. You're a boy who's going to go to school, learn your ABCs, 1, 2, 3, and go out in the world and make something of yourself." That's it. Yeah. You don't got to turn, but
they're not being intentional about it, right? They're not being intentional about it. They're just saying, go do whatever you want, have fun, play video games all day, and that's it. I'll make food for you, honey. I'll come bring it for you, lay it down, and just I'll do everything for you. That's the problem.
Listen, my godson, he's 27.
Yeah.
Doesn't have a driver's license.
See, I think that's wrong, man.
Okay.
27.
He's a waste. He's a waste. He has a kid. He don't take care of it. His grandmother does. His grandmother does.
That's crazy. That's crazy that he still got his grandmother.
Yeah.
I saw a video. You just reminded me.
Dysfunctional the way he thinks in this. And he's a Gen X, right?
Yeah.
Gen
He's a later millennial.
I saw a girl. This just reminded me. I saw a lady, and she was maybe like 22-ish. she was dropping off her kids. This was like a real raw video. She was dropping off her kids at her mom's house, and there's 3 kids, and she's just like, her mom came up to her and was like, honey, I can't watch them. Like, you need to watch them. Like, you can't just drop them off like here whenever you want. The mom was so nice. Well, she's the grandma. She was so nice to her daughter, who's the older girl, who's like 22, 23, who has the 3 kids. And she's like, Mom, I don't care. I'm dropping them off. I have a boyfriend now, and he doesn't like kids. So you're going to watch the kids whenever I want, and you're not gonna and you're not gonna do anything about it. And the poor kids are sitting there listening to this shit on the sidewalk, and this is like in the car. And that girl was like to her mom, who's old. She's like maybe like 60 or 70. She's a grandma, and she's like, "This isn't fair, honey. Like, you can't do this to me. I already raised, I think it was like 5 or 6 kids. She's like, I can't raise all your kids now. Like, you need to be there for them to raise them." She's like, "You're stressing me out right now." And she was yelling at her and swearing at her. She's like, "Don't stress me out right now. Like, you better watch them. And I don't know when I'm going to be back." Imagine you're the kid listening to this shit. Your mom is saying, "I don't care about you, and I'm going to leave you here." And what kind of bullshit is that?
They're going to grow up with that mentality.
What's going to happen in 20
They're going
years?
to talk to their mom like that.
Exactly. And she's gonna get karma, right? She's gonna get what she gave out, right? Which was that.
We had to watch ourselves at 8 years old.
Yeah.
For real.
Nevertheless, if I brought kids home for my parents to watch them, they would they would lock the door. Which was I moved out, they changed the locks.
Exactly, but that's like, it gave me a really I felt like shit, because I'm like, those poor kids now are gonna grow up without a mom. The grandma, I don't blame, because like, it's not her job to go now raise all those 3 kids, but she's probably gonna do her best to help them, raise them in the right way. But like, at the end of the day, it's up to the mom, right, and the boyfriend now, right, in that context. So I felt
terrible.
shit. I felt bad. I'm like, but look at the kids now. How aren't those kids gonna have mom problems?
Yeah.
There was no dad present. It seemed like they don't have a dad. That's gonna be tough. How are you gonna, especially the girls? There was, I think, 1 boy and 2 girls. How are those guys gonna get raised? How are they gonna view men? That's going to be a cycle. Yeah. It's going to be a cycle for
Medicaid
them, right?
fraud, whatever you can do.
Anything, man.
But I'm saying is like, your father's picture from school, so you had a good father. You know what I mean? But like, what Joe
He was
Rogan
always
brought
late.
up.
He was always late,
but he was
I
still a
almost
good
got
dad.
What I'm saying
kidnapped.
is,
I almost got kidnapped once.
I
'cause he
walked
was
through the
late.
beginning part of Brooklyn into Ozone Park about a mile to school at 8 years old. And that's everybody I grew up with did that, because we all came from the same area. None of us had money. But Joe Rogan was talking about it, and he's like, I used to walk to school 2 miles when I was 8, go to the store, no one ever watched me, and it brought that back. And he goes, think about letting your kid at 8 years old today. And I walked past gang members, crack corners. My parents had no idea. Immigrant parents do not know what's going on outside.
Yeah.
I used to get on the train and come to 42nd Street because I lived on the A train stop. And they had no idea where I was. I just had to be home when the streetlights came on. And imagine today you not knowing where your 8-year-old kid is.
No.
Right? Or you're at work and your wife not knowing.
You'll never see them again. You'll never see them again.
You call your wife and you're like, the kids get home yet? No, they should be walking in any minute. Walking in, they're 6 and 8. What do you mean? You did could you imagine not driving your kids to school? So we are the problem as well.
Yeah.
Millennials, Gen X, because the boomers really didn't get, and a lot of kids in our era died. Fireworks, hit by cars, out in the streets, get, gang violence. Like, I know a lot of parents that lost 1 kid.
Yeah.
Like, I know people that grew up with twins, they never made it. One never made it. You know what I mean? Like, that happened back then. I mean, there was tons of stories. Guys blew their hands off. Kid got hit by a bus. Kid fell down in the train because we were walking the streets at 8 years old. So I understand that. But you have to understand is we did that because of what we seen.
Yeah.
And we ruined it. Because my era, you had your first kid at 47, but our kids are 22, 23, 24. My brother's kid's 35. He's already married and divorced.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's a Gen X. So that's our wavelength. And we fucked up. Because we didn't want them to see that. We didn't want them blowing one of their fingers off playing with firecrackers.
Which is fair, though, right? Why would you want your kid to go through that?
Look at the world.
I know.
Right?
There's different consequences.
I was watching something on the way here in the cab. They have the thing. And senator called another senator out in the hallway to fight one-on-one.
Yeah. I saw that.
It's on the news. I'm just watching it. I'm like, wait. I lauded it. And the guy's like, get off your ass. I'll fight you right. And The guy was going out in the fight. I'm in the middle of the Senate.
That's crazy.
Bernie Sanders stepped in.
Yeah. I'm like, what is going on?
He challenged him
When
to a
did you ever
cage
see that
match.
in Senate?
No, he challenged him to a cage match.
Yeah.